Hi guys, this is going to be the second of the 3-part Trademarks series. Apologise for the background noise. I've got a fan on, I've got my window open. I'm actually recording this on the hottest day. I know this is going to be not out for a few weeks, but at the moment, as I'm recording it, this is the hottest day the UK's had. And I'm inside, yeah, showing you guys how to paint, because that's my job. Right. This is a commission piece, which is why it's not got a base. This is another, turn the light on. This is another Craig Mills special, which is getting me to actually paint up for him. And we've got a house alarm. We're going to be painting it up in Lunar Wolves, so it's going to be white. So I've got, if you remember me showing it, Mystic White metal colour. So we're going to do it in a metallic white all over his body, and then of course paint majority of the mace and brass, and it should be quite a simple one because there's no base to this one. We've also got his cloak, and I'm intending on doing his cloak in a similar way as I did the cloak on Abaddon a couple of weeks ago. Whereas it's going to be painted with Caribou Crimson, and I'm going to be dry brushing the paints up. The actual thing, I might actually do a bit. No. In fact, yeah, I was actually going to. I might dry brush it a little bit. No, sorry. I'm just going to hit it with Caribou Crimson. Right, so I'm pretty much going to start with the cloak. I'll start showing the cloak first, and then we're going to move on to the main figure. And with the majority of his armour, I think it's mainly going to be trim and the white. So as we did on the Abaddon cloak, we're going to start by painting the cloak with Caribou Crimson. This is still while it's in its black phase, and this will give us the base that we're going to require to do the rest. One thing to say about putting these on cocktail sticks, I don't want it to be slightly angled. I pushed it over, stuck a bit of blue tack underneath, and there we go. That's going to be the best way of letting it dry. So next up, I'm going to paint the figure in Green Stuff's World Metallic Mystic White. As you can see, it's a black undercoat that you start with, and then you build it up in layers, like you do with a lot of the Green Stuff World paint. It's very, very nice metallic, and it probably looks better than the fact that you're just actually looking at my hand at this moment in time rather than the figure. God damn it, I've got to get myself sorted on these. But I'm going to be airbrushing that on. Come on, show me some better. No, maybe not. It is quite a thick paint, so make sure that you thin it quite, and you make sure you there we are, better. And then you make sure that you clean out the nozzle as much as possible. You don't want spitters and spats. So our next colour is Oxide. This is going to go across anything that we're wanting to be red. So the little tabardie things that come down from his armour pieces, maybe the central pieces. These are all based up with, it's so that I can get a really, really nice dark brown. Again, I'm going straight from the pot because I'm basically wanting it to be quite thick. I'm needing it for good coverage. It doesn't cover the details sometimes, regardless of what people tell you. It doesn't cover the detail, but with this Mystic White, it will take about 3 or 4 coats to actually go over, and I'm too lazy for that, to be honest with you. Also, if you can get the same effect by using it from one coat from the pot, why not? It now with black temper contrast paint. That's going to go into recesses and across certain pieces of armour. With the Mystic White being on top, you should get a nice transition without having to do a lot of extra work. Might have to put a second layer on, but it should just cover it nicely. At this point, I've actually used some Griff Charger Grey just on the recesses, just to try and give it a little bit of shading in places. This is before we start to apply all the gold trim. Gold trim we're going to do the same way as I did in the Abaddon video, so we're going to hit it with the, I want to keep calling it Scorpion Brass, but it's Screaming Bell. And then once Screaming Bell's dried, we're going to then go over that with the gold, and I'll be able to tell you what the gold is in a minute. And then we'll go over that with Agrax Earthshade Gloss. So that's a pretty important section to do next. For the trim, we're going to be doing something similar to what we did with the Abaddon figure. Just using a wet palette to make sure I'm getting some nice thin paint. It'll stay that way. These are homemade wet palettes. Of course, there is a video on my playlist that tells you how to do this. I'm just covering it in Screaming Bell, so anything that's going to be the brassy / gold areas, I'm putting this on first. Now I'm going to wet palette the red, and just making sure that it's got a bit of a thinner consistency so more of the brown shows through. And I'm going to be doing this in several stages, and then of course I'll do it to Evil Sun's Scarlet. I am mixing a bit of Rhinox in as well, and we're just going to be building up the layers. Just slowly but surely building those layers up with the wet palette, and just trying to get that nice dark red rather than it being bright. Now we're going to dry brush with a large dry brush from Games Workshop. I do like their dry brushes. Dried others they just seem to be rounded. I like the flat edges. We're going to be hitting Corn Red, and we're just going to be dry brushing the cape. Again, same as what we did on the Abaddon video, making sure that none of it's going into the deeper areas, building up the layers with the dry brush rather than it actually being used with a like I said, Evil Sun Scarlet next, and we're just building up the layers with a dry brush rather than other painting techniques, and it does make a nice looking cloak, to be honest. I think this is going to be my favourite technique in future for all cloaks. Now we're going to wet palette the Retributor armour. This is going to go all over the brassy gold areas. We're going to be leaving the recesses still brass, and then we'll be hitting this with an ink wash later on just to blend it all together. But yeah, just paint by numbers. This is what it should look like at this particular stage. You can see the gold coming through, making sure that we're not actually painted onto the white. We've got the brass going in, and we've got the red as well. It's starting to come together. So now we're going to hit the brassy sort of goldy areas with Agrax Earthshade Gloss. I prefer to use the gloss version on metallic colours. I think it actually brings it out more. And we're going to hit the brushes with some Abaddon Black, This is before we actually start painting on major bits of silver. Now with a very small dry brush, we're going to dry brush the silver on. This is bolt gun metal, so this is an older silver, going straight from the pot. And that's going to be done all over the handles, and of course it's going to be done all over the lightning claws. Going to follow this up with some Necron compound using a large dry brush. That's just to give the final highlight. Now we're going to use flesh wash. This is going to be on the end. So this is mainly like a dark wash. So if you've got something that you can sort of really thin down, some browns that you can really thin down, this can create a weird looking copper / brass effect. And it's just going to make it look different than the armour plates. So as you can see, current stage, we've blacked out the eyes as well, ready for the Eye of Horus pattern. This is what you should have at the moment. Now Guilliman glaze, I'm going to put this all over the blade arms, blade fingers should I say. This is just to give it a hint of that it's got a feel to it. And then we're going to be hitting all the metal that we've done, the other type of metal, we're going to be hitting that with the Drift Charger Grey. That's a contrast paint, that gives it a nice metallic look. Now we're back to Caribird Crimson, and we're just going to start filling out these eyes. Grey Seer next. This is while the Caribird Crimson dries. This is all over the fur. I actually like the look of contrast paints for fur, simply because they get right into where you need them to get into. It's not something that's detrimental. Flesh and contrast colours, flesh and furs are always pretty good. Now I'm going to put a very, very thickish line, if you can see, around the eye. And I've been doing that with really small, thin layers. And just slowly but surely we build that up and build that up and build it up with another red until we get what we need. Now I did actually paint his head with the Grey Seer. We're now going to start with the flesh colours. So that's the flesh, one of the fleshes, not the Guilliman one, but one of the fleshes from Games Workshop Contrast, and then that's Wild Wood, which is one of the browns from Contrast. And then we'll be painting the skulls on the base with use Shabti Bow. They're just going to be inked later on. Just a little bit of Seraphim Sepia all over the skulls. Quite like the skulls to look muffy, so that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing on them. If not, sometimes I like to dry brush a little bit tiny and small over the top. And you can see that's coming along, especially like the cape. Amazing. Might put some flesh dry brush. This is his left flesh. I'm just going to dry brush that onto the face so I can pick up a little bit more detail. I don't want it to be too dark. And then a bit of Kislev flesh with white. And then Tyrant skull. And it's going to be on the bones. Using that small dry brush. I need some small dry brush again. We're going to be doing the cloak now, just to pick up the last bits of fur. This is pretty much done. All you're going to need now is to do the eyes. I don't show myself recording the eyes because doing the eyes is an absolute pain. But I use air paints, as you can see, white scar and Abaddon black, because I don't have to thin them. And this is the final figure. So I'm hoping you've been able to follow that quite easily. I know sometimes I go off camera, so I do apologise. As you can see, it's not a lot of airbrush work, it's mainly airbrush work in the beginning, and then we've got some wet paletting, some dry brushing, and as you can see from the results, you get a pretty good result from it. If you're alright and you're focused, you can probably get it done within a day. But thanks very much for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button if you want to see more. We all know that you want to see more, of course you do, damn fantastic. And if you are interested in me painting figures for you, commission painting, please, you know, get in touch on rootstem.co.uk. If there's anything in particular that you're wanting me to paint, if you want to drop a donation at rootstem.co.uk, and on your message just tell me if there's something in particular you wanted me to try and do, and I'll try and get one done for you. Well, thank you very much. See you next time.